Yes, maybe I should say Happy Mother's Day, and those of you who are mothers. This is the day we set aside to celebrate mothers, moms. Once a year, we have this day that is set aside, and as this comic shows, unfortunately, moms usually still have to do some work. It's not, you think they would get more vacation days than just one day when you're signing up for it. But moms have a very important role in the home. Like I said, it's Mother's Day. Now I know that not everybody here is a mother. There's roughly half of us are men, so that disqualifies us right there. And even of the other half that are ladies, girls, there's some of you that aren't mothers. So I don't want to, I'd like to focus on, I title the sermon, The Woman Who Fears the Lord, and this is the title, the heading that is in my Bible, for verses 10 through 31 in Proverbs 31. And focusing on women, godly women. But as we read through here, there is one thing that we do have in common. I think we can say all of us have in common. It's very improbable that you are here today and you never had a mother. I would say it's even impossible for you to be here today and you never had a mother. Some of you lost your mother at a very young age. Maybe you didn't have a mother for many years. Some of you have lost your mother when you were fairly young. And for some of us, we have already lost our mother even as we get older. I was fortunate enough to have my mother for 45 years of life. She passed away a number of years ago, and some of you here still have your mother. So younger ones here, a lot of you have your mother maybe sitting here this morning, the children. So, but one thing we all have in common is we all had a mother. As we read through this, think about this in relation to your mother and how your mother was some of these things. Another thing in here that I discovered, according to, and obviously I don't know, I can't read the original, but from what I understood, the original was written as an acrostic. We see an example of an acrostic up here in the slide right here. It's where if you would read it vertically, it had spelled out something. And apparently this was written with the first words of the phrase or whatever was from the alphabet. So I guess it was their alphabet following through, and that's how it was acrostic of the alphabet, speaking about mothers or godly women. And so that's kind of what the example, or how, if you read through here, that's why I guess some of these are misplaced, I guess, or in my mind, I'm like wondering why are some of these pieces in where they're at, but apparently that's maybe a clue as to why that would be. So we're starting to read in verse 10 of Proverbs chapter 31 and read through the end of the chapter. An excellent wife, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the lands. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. A godly woman, a woman who fears the Lord. Abraham Lincoln said that no man is poor who has a godly mother. I hope, as we read through there, excuse me, that you were able to maybe pick out some things or remember some things of your mom, recognize some things of your mother. I hope, as it says in verse 10, that your mother was precious to your father, to your dad, that she was precious, more precious than jewels, more desirable than jewels, harder to, jewels are typically hard to find. You have to search them out, and they're precious when you find them, look at them. Here he's saying that this is who this person should be, the godly woman. Is more precious than rubies, I think is what the King James says. Obviously our parents aren't perfect, and I know that from being a parent. I know that from having had parents. We're human. Our parents were human. They're not perfect, but hopefully we have learned and are able to learn and see things in their lives, and specifically mothers. How a woman who fears the Lord, as it says in the next verse there, verse 11, garners trust from others. It's a woman who fears the Lord is trusted. She's trusted by her husband, but others too, her children, and those around her, those that come in contact with her. If they know that she is, and they recognize that she fears the Lord, she garners trust. I know of instances where moms tease their children. And I'm not talking about the little, the loving, kind little teasing, but to the point of aggravation. And that's so sad to me that happens, and those children grow up maybe not being able to fully trust their mother in some ways at least. In verse 12, it says that she does him good, speaking of her husband, not harm, all the days of her life. She puts her husband and her children, her family's interest ahead of her own, in front of her own. Someone said that a big part of the word mothers, I forgot to make a slide as this. I was going to have this up on a slide, but a big part of the word mothers, if you take off the M, is others. And that's very fitting. They said, which makes a lot of sense, because mothers always think about others. Isn't that usually the case? Moms, I know I see it in my wife, and I think I can remember seeing it in my mom, how it's concern. It's always a concern, looking out for other people, making sure others are taken care of. Sometimes that means sacrificing their own wants and wishes and desires, and to make sure that everybody else's needs are met. Verse 13, it tells us that a godly woman, a woman who fears the Lord, works with willing hands, that she's busy, selfless, working. She's doing something, being productive. We see that in our mothers of today. I think we can recognize that. I hope we can. Verse 14, it says that she's like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. And I don't think you would ever want to compare your mom to a ship. Be careful with that. But I think what it's saying is not literally, but the fact that ships show up in port, the merchant ships show up in port, and they're bountiful. They have been who knows where, and they bring this food from afar. I don't know how mothers do it. I don't know how women do it. I remember as a child, there's always just food there. Mom figured it out. There was the pantry had enough food for us, and I know she did shopping trips. I know Deborah does too. That's part of it. But a lot of us don't stop and think, I guess, and realize that we're just there for when's the food ready, or what are we having for supper tonight? Just expecting the food to be there, ready to go. And on the one day of the year where dads and the children stumble around trying to make a nice meal for mom, I think, makes them maybe more nervous than they care to admit. But it's often, I guess in our house anyway, it ends up being a disaster. We have lunch, but there's something about mom being like that merchant, just bringing the food from afar, and it's just kind of materializes. It just happens. Verse 15, it says, she rises while it is yet night. She gets up early. She gets up early in the morning to make sure that her household is taken care of. I, again, remember that in my mom, getting up early and making sure things were in place, and us getting us kids off to school and stuff in the early days, making sure that everything was in order, having lunches ready and just having prepared. And I know some moms say, I think this is maybe Deborah's theory, is that sometimes you have to get up early. Our kids, when they were smaller, were early risers, and they would beat us up in the morning sometimes. Remember going out and catching Carson playing with his Legos early in the morning. And as long as he didn't interrupt, our sleep, we were usually okay with that. But that has changed a little bit. But with the time to get up early, maybe that's the time you need to have some quiet time before the kids are up and running, and to make sure things are in place, to get up and have your cup of coffee and get the day started. And again, rising up, and it goes on to say there, to provide food for her household and portions for her maidens, making sure others are taken care of. That is what mothers do. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She is industrious. Where does the money come from to buy this field? And where does this fruit come from for her to plant this vineyard? Nobody knows. He doesn't tell us here. But as I think of this in relation to our moms, that happens, doesn't it? Where it just, again, industrious, making do with what you've got, finding ways to make things work out, making it happen and dealing with what you have, making maybe there's times when the grocery budget doesn't seem to balance out the needs that are there, but somehow it works out. Somehow moms have a way of just making it work. They're industrious. figuring out how to make it happen, even when it seems like it won't reach. In verse 18, it talks about, there in the end, the last part of 18, it says, her lamp does not go out at night. I'm not sure exactly what this would have sounded like in the original, if it's just literally saying that she's up all night. But one thing I remember my dad saying about his mom, would have been my grandma, that there were many times that he caught his mom, him and his brothers would catch their mom usually praying for them. He'd catch her up late at night praying, and maybe they had been out or something, and she prayed a lot at night with not a lot of fanfare, not a lot of going on, but sitting in her chair praying. And I think a lot of mothers pray for their children, pray for their family, pray for others. It's an important part. I don't know if that's relating to this, but that is one thing I thought of that I do think it fits in with this, is praying, being a praying woman. And again, a woman who fears God, who fears the Lord. Verse 20 is very important. It says, she opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. This is so important for children to see this acted out, or to see this modeled to them. The preacher can stand up and preach about this. The parents can talk about it, but to actually see it in action, to actually see your mom or anyone put this into action of reaching out, opening hands to the poor and reaching out hands to the needy. I don't know if it's actually this way. I think women are more sensitive, more in tune with needs around us. That's definitely the way it is in our home. And I would say that's how it was growing up. My mom would have been a lot more sensitive to needs, seeing needs around her and around us. But I think it's so important that is modeled to young children growing up, to be able to see their parents, their mom, reaching out to others, those in need. Whether it's a small thing, whether it's giving of time, maybe it's giving of money, energy, effort, whatever it is. Maybe it is an encouraging word, saying, I see what you're going through, I realize what you're going through, and I'm here for you, I want to pray for you. Whatever it may be, to see that modeled and see it in action, a living example. Verse 21 and 22, it says that she's not afraid of the snow. She has her household, it says they're clothed in scarlet, and one translation says that this would refer to a thicker layer or an extra layer, the scarlet, a double layer. She's not afraid of the snow. She's ready, as it says later there in verse 25 as well. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. A woman who fears the Lord is prepared, getting her things in order, being prepared for what's to come, being prepared for the future. And again, as I think of my mom, we used to tease her. She used to over-prepare. When we went on trips, first thing was that we had to be at the airport, or we had to leave the house at least an hour before any normal person would leave, in case we had a flat tire, or in case we hit traffic, just in case. Be prepared. She would have been a great spokesperson for the Boy Scouts. Always be prepared. Even for the things that never happened. She was a little bit of a worrier, and I heard Mark Rhodes, I think it was last week, he said that in Sunday school, I think he said that, well, 80% of the things we worry about don't come true, so it must work. And I think that was my mom's philosophy too. But she was prepared. We would get to the airport on time. We would often we'd be sitting there for a long time. But she wanted to be prepared for the things that could come in the future. If we would have had a flat tire, we would have still made it. And another thing I thought of on trips, she often had extras of things along. You know, if us kids needed something, oh yeah, okay, well, I packed an extra one, so here you go. And being prepared for the future says that in verse 25 that she laughs at the time to come, gives us a sense that she's ready, bring it. We're all set. Now I know that's not possible in every aspect. I know that's not realistic in everything, but I think there is that sense in moms, and especially in women in tune with God, with the Holy Spirit, having that sense of, well, we're prepared. We're as prepared as we can be, as humanly possible. Verse 26, it says, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Again, opportunities to teach wisdom and kindness to children. To her children, to anyone, I guess, observing, but specifically to her children, teaching wisdom and kindness, showing wisdom and kindness in action, in real life, happening right before their eyes. And it means so much more to see it happen than just be told. Verse 27 says that she looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Moms are always busy, it seems like. Moms, there's a phrase that says, a mother's work is never done. Moms are always busy, always doing something. This cartoon kind of depicts that. Sometimes it's necessary to send the children to bed because I'm tired. I need a break. I know you're not tired, but I need you to go to bed. Because a mom's work is never done. Picking up toys, as they're little, running after the little ones. And there's other things involved as they get older, in the teens and older years. Seems like there's not really I've completed my day's work. It's always there the next day again. But so just bless you mothers for putting up with that, for dealing with that. A teacher gave her class of second graders a lesson on magnets and what it does, what the magnets do. The next day, in a written test, she included this question. My full name has 6 letters. The first one is M. I pick up things. What am I? When the test papers were turned in, the teacher was astonished to find that almost 50% of her students answered the question with the word mother. Because mothers pick up things. She was looking for magnet, but I guess mothers fits in there too. Verse 28 says that her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Children should praise their godly mothers and thank them. And it's even okay to do it publicly. Don't have to, but that's okay too. Even after adult children, after you're adult and you can go to your mom and say thank you. I remember it didn't really sink in to me, the sacrifice fully that my mom had made in a lot of ways until I had children of my own. So if you're in that stage where your children aren't married or have children yet of their own, I'm guessing those thanks might come in the years to come. Once they have their own, they see what it's like. And as us of adults, we can identify with that as well. As we get older and we understand a little bit more about life, a little bit more about how things work, it's amazing what our moms have done for us, the sacrifices they did. to the things that they did and the memories that we have of that. Sometimes children kind of bless their mothers without knowing it. There was this little girl, little Susie, was talking to her grandpa, and she said, she was on the phone talking to him, and she said, "Mom went out, so me and Cindy and Bobby and Danny and Daddy are all home alone." And that's the way it feels sometimes. Everybody is there except Mom, and we're all alone. We're all home alone because Mom isn't there. Mom is such an integral part of the family, such a necessary part of the family unit. When she's not there, there's a big piece missing. And like this little Susie, it felt like they were alone. They were all home alone. Probably felt unsupervised, even though Dad's sitting right there. Verse 30 says, "Charm is deceitful," or as some say, deceptive. It's just a front or an act, a put on. "And beauty is vain," or fleeting, passing. Beauty will come and go. But then it goes on, "But the woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." And I really think one of those things is that because that is lasting. That is something that doesn't fade. That is something that's real. It has substance. A woman who fears the Lord has substance to her. It's not fleeting or passing or leaving. And that's what's beautiful, is a woman that fears the Lord. Then verse 31, it says, "Give her the fruits of her hands." And the NIV says, "Honor. Honor her for all that her hands have done." Give her honor. Show her honor. Tell her. And I'd just like to challenge you this morning, if you still have your mother, honor her today. Today is that day that we, like I said, we celebrate to honor our mothers, but do it all the time. I guess my challenge is to not do it just today. Keep that in mind. Honor your mom. Honor your parents as it comes to you, as you think about it. If you're adults and moved out from home, if you're still living at home, remember to thank your mom whenever that comes to you. That's all I have for this morning. I think we'll briefly open it up if someone has something more to share, maybe specifically about Mother's Day. Otherwise, we'll dismiss. Anybody have anything? Esther Cross up here.
As you were sharing about mothers, I thought of my mother, who obviously I don't have anymore. But my brother this morning said, my mother taught me how to make oatmeal, so we're going to have oatmeal for lunch and dinner. But I also reflected on the fact that my mother laid things aside evening after, especially in the summertime. The dishes did not have to be washed because we could go out and play softball yet. It was light yet. And Mom just laid and said the dishes can be done later. If we had snow days, she would play games with us. She would put puzzle together. She laid aside whatever she thought she needed to do that day, and it could be done later. So that's my challenge.
Thank you, Esther. She was doing the important work, right? Right. Anyone else?
Well, it's an honor to have my mom here. I just want to bless her for who she is and how she just loves unconditionally. And yeah, I'm just blessed to have a mom like that.
All right. Thank you, Darla. Go ahead.
Blessed to have a mother-in-law like this, and you know, sometimes mother-in-laws have kind of a negative or whatever, but I'm really blessed to have a mother-in-law like her and a father-in-law.
All right. Thank you, Norman.
Add to that, we appreciate, I might add to that, I said we appreciate our daughter living here in Indiana, and I think she has one of the greatest husbands that live in the state of Indiana, so it's not saying much for the rest of you. Thanks again for your message.
Thank you. It's good to have you here this morning. Blessing to Norman and Darla, I'm sure. All right. Anyone else? Okay. If not, maybe we'll stand for prayer, and then Joe will, after prayer, can lead us in the dismissal song. Lord, thank you for our mothers. Lord, as we think of this day specifically, but Lord, throughout the year, just pray that you just bring to our mind to continually to be thankful, to show our gratitude and thanks to our mothers and those who fill those roles for us. Lord, I just pray that you would be with us through the rest of today. Lord, that you would guide us and direct us. We just want to give the rest of this day to you this week coming, Lord, and allow you to work and move in our lives. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.